I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. This is our second in a series of our workshop for master plan. If everyone would please join us, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. And when we're done, if you can please remain standing for a minute. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was wondering if everyone could please join me for a moment of silence. Saturday night, our Chief Alward, who was chief here in Washington Township for over 50 years, if you could all join me in a moment of silence for him and his family. Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Again, as I said, this is our second and master plan workshop. Tonight's focus is more on sidewalks and our sidewalk gap program, but we're also open to any other discussion regarding the master plan. I'd also, to my right is Patrick Maher. He's our Community Development Director. To our right is Dana Bergback. She's the Director of Planning and Zoning. We have Stan Babinski, our clerk, back there. Mike Pollard, our trustee. Cindy Olson, our trustee. Gary Kopp, our trustee. I have Bob Sacco, our ZBA and planning member, PZ member. And Abby, back to planning and zoning again, Abby Jacobson. And we also have our sidewalk engineering firm from Spalding Decker, Michael and Jeremy. Wire assessor, Patty Rapue. Mike Kozak is our township engineer. He's here. And Cindy Knight here. Jason Esper from our DPW. I'm trying to see if anybody else. Rich Amormino, our DPW, he's online listening in.
I think so.
Cindy Knight from our planning and zoning is back there. And then I have Rachel Hunter, my administrative assistant here. So I think I covered everyone. At your seat was a postcard, kind of if you'd like to fill it out, just trying to gauge the public, where you'd like to see sidewalks, where you don't want to see sidewalks. Feel free to list as many or as little as you want, or feel free to shoot us an email at the township. Also, you received several packets, the presentation that Patrick will be doing, as well as some of the proposed maps of our sidewalk gap program. If you can visit our website at washingtontownship.org and you can grab those as well. And we also have the maps there on the side table. And then the proposed maps here are from our first session of the master plan. Feel free to look at them after the meeting. And again, if any questions. Again, as I said before, when you'd like to ask a question, just please go to that microphone up there and we'll take you one at a time. I'll turn it over. Should we have him present first?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
We'll let Spalding go over their plan right now.
We're going to have something up on screen.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me? Yep. Okay, so Spalding has been working with the township on an overall sidewalk gap plan. So we've been looking at a few different things, but number one was to come up with an inventory. What sidewalk gaps exist within the township? Now, we're mainly focusing on the major roads and looking at how many sidewalk gaps does the township physically have. And then from there, we broke it down into a rating system. How do we come up with what's the most important gaps out there? And that's based on a number of different factors. It was somewhat of an iterative process, but we went through with the township to identify some important things. Was this sidewalk gap shown on the township master plan? What's its proximity to public amenities, listed points of interest, trail connections, et cetera? Does it have evidence of travel? So a lot of times you'll see what we like to call a go path, which is essentially just people repeatedly using the same exact grass path over and over again. And then the length of the gap, we really want to start knocking off the low-hanging fruit first. I think when we put the inventory together, we were just for the major roads somewhere around $54 million worth of sidewalk gaps within the township. So we obviously have to start somewhere and, you know, work our way backwards. So that's really what this whole program has been about inventorying and then coming up with a plan. What are we going to attack and why are we going to attack it? And that's really what the maps that are shown on the webpage and back over here are about, are those ratings based on that matrix I just showed you. And then there's also a segment on here showing what the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 year plans would be based on that map. A lot of other things this takes into consideration is right-of-way. Do we need to get right-of-way? That obviously takes time, takes money. So we want to start to knock off those low-hanging fruit instead. And then looking at developments, the township often requires that the developer build the sidewalk in front of that development. So we're obviously not going to focus on building those sidewalk gaps now. If we know it's going to be developed in the future, we will pass that cost along to the developer. So this is kind of an iterative process, and this is where we've ended up so far. And looking forward to hearing your comments and feedback on what we've put together.
Thank you. Listen to you.
Do we want to take comments on this first?
I don't care, yeah.
I don't mind going.
Maybe, yeah, go on there. This way we can answer all of them at once. We'll be going through this presentation now, the yellow packet. Sometimes you have to do the share screen, but I don't know if that.
It's working now.
Oh, it's working. It's like a 60-second gap.
Let's see. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Maher. I'm the Community Development Director for the Township. Really, I've got a pretty short presentation. When we look at community planning as a whole, we tend to focus on looking at a goal first and then look reverse engineering going backwards and trying to figure out our path or our various goals to get to the overall vision. And, you know, obviously we don't get it right every time, so we make corrections as we go along. But basically a vision is a large set of goals, an end point. You know, what are we looking to achieve? And maybe this meeting here is a little bit premature in terms of the master plan process, because it deals with a small component of the master plan, really not the overall workings of the master plan. But nonetheless, I know a lot of you are interested in your particular areas of town. Hopefully some of you are here as an interest for everywhere in town, which is what we're, in the end run, trying to achieve. So When we look at defining visions and looking at goals, we always start by examining who are the stakeholders involved in the master plan or in the planning process, or in any type of project for that matter. So, in this particular case, the entire citizenry of Washington Township, and in some cases, citizens from the surrounding communities may have an interest in this or be a stakeholder, as the term is commonly used. The stakeholders always have a variety of interests as to what they want to see happen, a variety of visions, a variety of goals and objectives. So we try to put those together, look for compromise, look for the best method to get towards that vision. And that might be taking smaller goals in some cases or 100% of the goals in other cases. But who are the stakeholders in this particular issue? We have families and residents who have activity goals and safety concerns, health and recreation expectations. And this goes back to should we or shouldn't we have paths in certain areas? And if we don't, what are the repercussions of that? If we do, what are the repercussions of that? We have bike enthusiasts who have these adventurous visions of taking these 30-mile hikes and bike trips and stuff that I've grown out of. And we have environmentalists who just want to seek access to the natural areas and, the beauty that there are quite a few of those areas within the township. Many of us moved to this township because of the existence of these areas. And we have families and residents just seeking quiet, beautiful, serene, non-urbanized intrusions into their everyday lifestyle. We also have other stakeholders that have perhaps some other perspectives which deal more on a personal level perhaps, or, but have a general benefit to the community just like everyone else. These are families with a desire to maintain a rural atmosphere of their particular area, or families with a desire to protect trees and shrubs on their own property. In many cases, people just don't want an intrusion onto the privacy of their own property and feel that any type of intrusion can cause an issue with protection and security of their family and their homes. We think about the vision, and we've always got to go back to when we look at it from a community-wide basis, what brings value to our community? And in Washington Township, going way back to when I was beginning in the field in 92, 94, we stepped in for some master plan work back then. Some of you are still around on the planning commissions and boards and so forth. But we talked about sidewalks. We had a lot of turnout, believe it or not, even way back then. People said, we don't want these pathways. We don't need to have them. We're a rural community. That's why we moved out here. It ended up where we did come to somewhat of a compromise and provided that we would have, instead of concrete pathways, we would do these asphalt pathways that provide a little bit more of a rural look to them. And that's basically been the path, no pun intended, that we followed since that master plan. The ordinances basically dictate if you build a home, you build a business, you build a subdivision, that along with that, you're going to put pathways along any of the major roads that your development abuts. As we look at going forward in terms of this particular issue, and I know, you have planning commissioners here and board members here. They're here primarily maybe to share their own thoughts on this, but more or less to hear what the visions of the people that are here are, what the thoughts are, what the concerns are, and what the benefits might be of following whatever those goals are. A pathway or a sidewalk would typically be put into, and I think I've been watching too much TV with my grandkids, because as I read this, I thought this gets mildly basic, but nonetheless, we need to get from point A to point B by a second mode of travel other than motorized vehicles. And that doesn't necessarily mean a pathway couldn't be for motorized vehicles, but in this particular case, we're primarily focusing on bicycles and walking. The purposes for Washington Township that have always been discussed in the past have been the recreational benefit, in particular after the Orchard Trail was put in, and all of a sudden sidewalks became the new craze. And if you look around the neighborhoods in the summer, I live somewhat near the pathway, I see more people than I thought ever owned bikes running around on these pathways and down major roads, which is nice to see. We've always looked at them for safety. How can we get kids from a subdivision to a school crossing at proper corners and sidewalk crossings? From an environmental standpoint, people like them because you're not burning gasoline and creating any type of environmental hazards, climate change, whatever the popular terms are now. And also just as a general linkage for those that want to leave from their house and perhaps go shopping without taking their vehicles. What are some of the factors that we look for when we're deciding whether or not an area should have pathways or shouldn't have pathways? When we were in Macomb Township, I was dealing with this issue almost on a daily basis with regard to our sidewalk program and working with the township engineer. There's a whole lot of discussion, a whole lot of angriness from the populace of the community, on both sides of the coin. Some of them saying, why don't we have sidewalks here? What kind of idiots would put together a community and wouldn't have sidewalks in our neighborhood or near our neighborhood, connecting us to the township gymnasium and the parks and so forth. The other ones were saying, we had a beautiful area here, you put sidewalks in, now we've got people up and down constantly, we don't like it. And so, that argument probably never changes, especially if it's still happening in an urbanized or suburbanized community like Macomb Township. The issue really hit a head in Macomb Township, and I don't even know if I should bring it up, but too late. The issue really hit a head in Macomb Township when a couple of children were walking to school and were struck by cars on the way to school and unfortunately passed away. And it became both one of those that really never leaves your head as you sit through these discussions, but at the same time, it became a real political issue as well. And the populace cried out, why didn't we have sidewalks there? We have all these subdivisions. We have an elementary school, a high school, a middle school. There's no lights over there. Why hasn't this been done? And a lot of the same people that were up at the podium yelling at the township board at that point in time were the same people refusing to give us those easements and rights of way that were necessary to get these sidewalks and easements. And I don't throw that out as a warning. I only throw that out because it is a reality. And what ended up happening was we did have an area that was larger lots at one time. There was a lot of development, and I do mean a lot of development, at the rate of 2,000 homes per month that went on for years. And it created an all of a sudden where, why don't we have sidewalks there? How do we get them? How do we pay for them? We have $1 million budgeted a year for sidewalks, not nearly enough. That would get us about a half mile worth of sidewalk per year in terms of our GAP program. After we were done acquiring rights of way, paying for the rights of way, paying for people to get the rights of way, and designing and constructing the actual pathways and sidewalks. I think the last year I was there, they had budgeted $4 million for sidewalks. We also take a look, as we're here tonight to discuss the zoning and the plan vision, and it really should just be the master plan vision. So, at the end of this process and program for the master plan, there should be a very clear idea as to where, when, and how sidewalks are going to go in. And if they don't go in, what is the backfall on that? Do we simply write that these are areas that are non-urbanized and they're not going to have sidewalks and they never will? And if they get urbanized, they're still not going to have sidewalks because no one's going to want to pay for them in the future. And, that doesn't come across as a harsh reality. It just comes across as it's an option and it needs to be talked about. From an environmental standpoint, we need to look at wetlands, floodplains, rivers, drains. Trying to build a sidewalk on a single-family home that sits on the corner of two major roads is quite a task if you have wetlands on that property, or even if your frontage of your property is wetlands, because you then have to do an elevated walk, which involves basically building an extremely long, expensive deck across the frontage of whatever road you're on. And then the other half of the other part of the equation is the demographics for the community. Where do we expect the population centers to be in the community? And I don't think we're quite there yet at this point. Even if we don't expect them, or I should say, even if we don't plan for them, we still need to take a logical look at where could they end up. And we'll take a look at that on a map in a few minutes. But we also got to look at the aging of the population, because what ends up happening is as people like me move into their home, 10 years later, I'm ready to retire and I'm heading down to the sun. And a nice young family buys the house, they settle in and they say, who the hell planned this community? There's no sidewalks over here. We got to get down to town hall and start yelling at people and get some sidewalks for the kids here. And then they meet the mom next door and the ladies across the street and the husbands, and they all get together and they say, let's get these sidewalks done. And we start to hear from them on the other side of the coin. What I did was I simply took an existing land use map for the township. You'll notice in yellow we have some of our residential concentrations. Most of the heavy concentrations obviously are in the south of 28 Mile, south of 29 Mile, and along the central portion of the township, and in the central portion primarily west of M53. And, in those particular areas, it's highly important to provide for pedestrianism. We have high traffic over there. We have turning movements that aren't 100% great right now, that are going to be looked at as part of this master plan as well. In the central area, we have Campground, which is a natural beauty road. We have Mount Vernon, which supposedly is a natural beauty road. According to the county, I have yet to see any evidence that it is, but it's my assumption that they must have some evidence. They said back in 1976, they were sent a resolution from the township requesting it become a natural beauty road. So I'm going to assume for the purposes of the master plan discussion, until we see something different, that Mount Vernon, basically from DeQuinder to 31 is a natural beauty road. You'll note some areas in red, which are primarily in the northwest part of the community. Those areas are generally areas that would be extremely difficult in the future to service by any type of public sewer system. Be very difficult to develop any type of high-density residential developments out in that area. And I've got that noted with red lines. And I notice in the legend that it says path not required, but that's really not what it means. It's just paths probably won't be required, or that's an area that at least could be considered as an area that might not require pathways as we go through this plan, simply because we wouldn't expect those types of concentrations. Then we show the gray area, and I know a lot of you are here tonight to discuss campground and whether or not there ought to be any type of sidewalks in that particular area. We put that as probably less of a affirmative that it shouldn't, while, the natural beauty road distinction itself, might on its own merits already warrant that there not be such pathways along that road. The alternative to that is we do have a number of large lots that are still vacant in the area, many for that matter. We could expect higher density throughout those sections of the township as the sewer progresses north. I should say if the sewer ever progresses north. And, I think that'll entail a whole lot of discussion from you as the public with regard to, what are the important factors. I think the community itself that gets value, number one, from its hilly terrain in Macomb County. Everything is just a flat surface. Coming out here into Washington and up through Bruce, you have the nice hilly terrain. Really brings value, beauty to your homesteads and adds a tremendous amount of value. The same goes for campground with the preservation of trees on both sides of the roads. It's a great asset, not only to the people in that area, but to the community as a whole for those people that do end up driving through there and say, wow, this is an incredible area, I'd love to live up here. And unfortunately, that's kind of the trials and tribulations of growth. The more assets you have and the more beautiful it is, the more people want to become part of it, and the more we destroy of those natural assets. And unfortunately, law tends to side on you're going to give up some of those natural assets because that's the basis of our Constitution is property rights. But, at this point in time, I'm not sure that we're here to make decisions tonight, but we are here to hear what some of the public have to say about the whys and why nots of pathways, and try to give some of the folks on the commission and on the board an understanding of what this means to you as homeowners, what it means to us as a community in the long term, and, hopefully makes us all think about every one of these factors. So with that, I'll turn it back to our supervisor, Sam.
Do you want to open the legs? Yes, sir. Thank you, Patrick. I guess with that, obviously this is a passionate subject in our town. I'll open the mic if anybody would like to talk about a certain area. I guess by show of hands, how many are here are just from campground alone? Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, that's what I figured. So,
You should have asked the opposite question.
how many here are not from campground? How about that? Okay. How about the non-campground, if you want to speak first? Then we'll go through that first. But, yeah, feel free to come up to the mic, and then, like I said, before you leave, if you can drop off these cards to us. Yeah. Yeah. Please state your name and address, yes.
You're going to put sidewalks on campground. What's going to be the location with respect to the center line of the road? Who's going to pay for the sidewalk? You put in sidewalks, are you going to put in sewer, water, and pave campground? And is this a means by which the state's natural beauty road designation can be removed?
Yeah, if you want, I'll try to take each of those separately.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah, with regard to the location next to campground and whether or not we put, well, I guess you were asking about how far from the center line. I tend to think that would vary, but, right now, the policy is simply new homes going in would give an easement at the 60-foot from center line, and they would put the pathway in at that point. Now, obviously, as you can't just walk onto someone's property or put out a mailer that says everyone's going to put sidewalks in tomorrow, so you're going to give us an easement and put the walk in. So, as time were to progress and we had to work on getting easements, we'd have to sit down with numerous homeowners, try to work out the best location that could be achieved, and hopefully try to find something that worked out. Now, yeah, I understand, but that's a standard for a normal pathway location on a major road. So even with campground, well, campground's actually, I believe, shown as a secondary road in the master plan, or a collector road, so an 86-foot right-of-way. So I would anticipate it would be at a 43-foot from center line, but. And I understand that's not where the road is, and that's not what you're expecting as residents out in that area. With regard to the natural, with regard to water and sewer, the three, well, I shouldn't say the three, but paving and the water and sewer are unrelated to each other with regard to the sidewalks. Obviously, water and sewer have a much more of a significant impact on whether or not development can occur there and what types of a development can occur there. At this point in time, I'm not aware of any plans to run sewer up campground. And the last question you had was with regard to natural beauty roads. Natural beauty roads, the designation can't be removed by us putting in sidewalks or water and sewer or anything else. It can only be done by resolution. The township board would have to have a public hearing. The public hearing would have to, or the resolution would then have to be adopted, have to be sent to the county, and then the county would have to ratify the decision of the township board and remove that designation. Pardon me? Well, if you're building a new home, and I'm just telling you the way things work right now, if you're building a new home or you're building a business or you're building a subdivision, whoever's doing that building or owns that home or that business or that subdivision pays to put those walks in. The remainder of the walks for existing homes is something that is basically taken care of by homeowners throughout the community. It's through taxation. That could very well be the case if that's what we're going to end up doing. But if everyone in the master plan says we're not having sidewalks and we change the ordinance, then I guess the answer would be no, we wouldn't be. But it's a common practice to fill gaps, and this gap program that was just presented by Spalding to Decker, all of those gaps are either being paid for by grants or by taxpayer money. It's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, if you could go to the microphone, please, sorry.
Hi, Gary Rader, 65166 Campground Road. Our septic fields were put in based on what the easement was at the time, and it wasn't 60 feet. So you're going to move our septic field somewhere else? We couldn't put it in the yard because that's where our well was. What are you going to do about that? I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, typically what would happen, and we've had this occur particularly with some of the programs on Van Dyke, with some of the older businesses there. If a septic field is in the way, we try to work around it. If we can't work around it, yes, then we have to install a new septic.
See, you brought up, you started off setting the pace or setting the thing, talking about Macomb Township, which is a busy area. If,
Yes.
you know, when our supervisor ran for office, he won because he wasn't that other guy who was trying to make this town like a city. And now all of a sudden, everybody forgot that, including supervisor. And we're building all these big subs. You're letting it happen.
No, I'm not. That's why I invited everyone here to talk, to know.
Oh, how do you subs get built then? The one that are coming in?
Oh,
I haven't approved any subs since I've been in office.
Really? Okay. The one that they're building right now?
yeah.
Between 29 and 30.
I didn't do,
Is it,
All right.
is it White Oak?
well, yeah, which one are you
referring
talking
to
of?
White Oak?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was approved a few
Yeah,
years ago.
2016
6 years ago.
is when it started.
All right, so no answer on who's paying for the septic?
Yeah, I thought I answered it for you, and I said if we can't work around it with the sidewalks, we would have to pay to basically put a new septic in. Perhaps a well if necessary, sure. Whatever needs to be restored as part of the program has to be restored.
Okay, not by the homeowner though, right?
Not by the homeowner, by the residents of the community and their taxes.
So you're
Yeah. Well, wait a minute, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you folks. I'm telling you what the facts are. Right now, if we put in sidewalks to fill gaps, they're paid for by us
Yeah, I know.
taxpayers. All of us, every one of us residents in the community. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you, that's a fact. I could try to skew that, but you're saying you're trying to talk in circles. I'm giving you the absolute fact.
The one option for Campground Road is to, as we move forward, is to make an ordinance that if it's a natural beauty road, sidewalks aren't required. So, I mean, it could be a simple fix like that, if that's what you guys would like, you know. And then that would become a red line in the proposed map.
Do it.
Yeah, let's put the red line in.
Yeah.
You mentioned Macomb Township and the schools, and, you know, it's tragic what happened to those young people. My name's Aaron Kerner, I live at 65150 Campground. I have to take my kids to 33 into Quinder to go to school. They're not gonna walk that. That seems a little bit excessive, guys. A little bit excessive. You know, and also, I'm gonna get the bridge in my front yard over the tributary for the Clinton River there. I mean, how much of my yard do you plan on taking?
You know, I guess every case is something that would have to be looked at, but as we brought up earlier, you know, some of the environmental impacts are difficult to address and expensive. So, you know, in a particular case, it may not be appropriate for a sidewalk or a pathway.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, the majority here are from Campground. Like, how many of you would like to see a red line there? I mean, obviously, yeah, okay. That's what I thought. So, I mean, we could, how would we do that? Just, it would be an ordinance that
Well,
we
Camp-
pass?
Yeah, we'd have to modify the ordinance.
Ordinance,
Yeah,
okay.
and it would have to be specific to a mile road, not, campground, obviously, if it's the unpaved portion, if it's 29 to 32, or if you're,
Just a portion natural beauty road.
right,
Yeah,
but just to be specific.
yes, specific.
Here.
All right. My name is John Chaplin. I live out on Mount Vernon Road. I'm just below where that red line ends, so let's pull that down just a little bit farther. And
We stretched it for you, Green.
It's just another quarter inch on the map, that's all we need. Just a couple of broad questions. I know for a lot of these people here on campground, this is a personal issue. It's a little less for me since I'm over there, and we don't expect much in the way of build-out over the next few decades, and we're fine with that. We like it that way over there. That's why we moved there. But in your presentation, Patrick, you talked about the stakeholders, and there's different groups. In your estimation, who's the largest group of stakeholders that this is going to affect?
You know, I
Would you agree that it's the residents of the township are probably the largest group of stakeholders? We've got 30,000 residents.
absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, if you're asking who has the greatest impact of all of the stakeholders, I suppose it would be, at this point in time, the individual homeowners. But if you ask me in the long term, I would tell you it'll be the community as a whole.
Right.
Because just as we didn't want to hear it, and everyone kind of chimed up when I said we, the taxpayers, will be paying for these. It takes quite a bite on the community.
And I agree with you. I think it's the residents. It's that almost 30,000 people. It's the over 9,000 households we've got in Washington Township. And I know that, you know, you talked about, you looked at your population, you looked at, you know, current paths and zoning visions and things like that in order to determine, you know, what the needs were. Has anything been done to actually ask each individual household? Have surveys been done of the individuals that live in the township? Has anything been sent out to say, you know, sidewalks are a big issue? You know, what is your opinion on this? Have we asked the homeowners?
I mean, yeah, you can certainly do that. What I tend to find on written surveys is that you get responses from activists and you get largely incorrect responses unless you hire a professional survey group to take care of it.
Well, I
And-
think when you're talking about a project that's going to stretch as far as this does and cost as much as it will over time, perhaps it's something to consider.
It
Is
possibly is.
investing a little upfront
Maybe,
to make
maybe
sure-
that's what'll evolve out of this discussion
Yeah.
tonight.
Make sure we're going down the right path, no pun intended on that. The other question I had was in regards to your presentation. You had a slide up there that talking about what brings value to the community. I guess my question is, how are we defining value? I mean, in your presentation, the idea that sidewalks are a value add, I think for a lot of these people, a lot of us that live out here, we see it completely different. Our definition of value is that natural beauty, is the rural nature of the community. And when you start putting in developments and sidewalks and roadways, you're actually taking away from our ideal of what is valuable in the community. So, you know, as we move forward in this discussion, you know, maybe we should talk about that idea of what adds value, what is value in our community, and see who agrees with your assessment of value and who might agree with mine or a different one.
Just to clarify my assessment of value, because I don't really like to be pinpointed on that. I think I made it very clear. If I didn't, I apologize. But I think that the rural areas of Washington do carry a huge value. And that in those cases, the undisturbed areas are the reason people are moving here, to disturb them. But nonetheless, I do think they bring a lot of value to this community, so I just want to make sure I'm not mischaracterized on that.
Well, like I said, I believe there are different definitions of value, and we should probably explore what those are as we look at the township as a whole, because there are very different areas of the township that have different needs. So our definitions out in the old Mount Vernon Village are very different from the downtown area.
Agreed.
And let's see, I think I had one other point that I wanted to bring up quickly. Okay, we are talking about sidewalks. There are areas of the township that perhaps need some pedestrian or some bicycle paths. Our sidewalks are our only option. Do we have, like Mound Road seems like a incredibly difficult place to put sidewalks in. And looking at where they put in the amount of infrastructure that you'd have to change, the amount of trees and natural beauty you'd have to tear out over there to put in some sidewalks, it's a lot. Have we explored maybe working with the county to expand roadways, adding pedestrian and bike lanes to the edge of the road rather than adding a sidewalk? Gives us some options to look at rather than being stuck with one solution for the entire township. Has there been any discussion or any thought put into that?
At this point in time, no. but it will become a discussion as we get to this point of the master plan. As I said, this comes a little bit premature because we did have a great deal of interest in it, and we wanted to make sure that people were heard. I'm assuming that as we progress, we'll bring this up again. Certainly that's an option. On a road like Mountain, it's hilly and you have limited sight distance. Sometimes that non-separated lane can cause a little bit of a dangerous issue, but it's certainly something we can look at.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Patrick, we did actually reach out to the county and talk to them, so they are going to be working with us on future road improvements to either help include the sidewalk as a part of that at a lower cost to the township, and/or add additional bike lanes, et cetera. So they've seen a lot of this overall master plan and have started working with us.
They were going to start that share program as well with the sidewalk.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, for tonight, majority obviously from campground, I think that's the simple fix for your area is to do an ordinance for natural beauty roads. I'm sorry, what's your thought?
No on the sidewalk. We live where it's agricultural, residential. My property can't be subdivided again. People have all kinds of places to walk. I don't see the need to come down campground at all. My husband walks that road every day. It's not like there's not a place to walk. And honestly, most people drive to wherever they want to go. I would suggest, you can't say what's going to be developed in the future. I don't believe sidewalks belong in agricultural or agricultural residential one areas at all. That's not country. Plus, if you want to do that sidewalk stuff, it's going to be up on my porch. And all of my trees are going to be gone, just like the problem we're having on 31 Mile Road with the water main coming in. Why? Because a group of people that are getting paid to make a plan that sounds really clever are going to go in and just bomb the heck out of an area that people apparently seem to love. A lot of the neighbors, okay, people move out here, they're afraid of the dark. So what do? They put the porch light on 24/7. There's a bunch of us that don't do that. And I hate to say it. I'm not going to say that part. It's something good that I don't want you to know about. There's a water pond next to me. You'd have to put that sidewalk on stilts. God, that's beautiful. You got to stop worrying about, look at me, I made a plan, and liability. God gave people a mind to make decisions for themselves. We're not all going to get hurt if we don't have a sidewalk. And I don't think anybody is fond of people being on their property, or you wouldn't have all these technological ring setups on people's front porches. They don't want people on their property, and we do have property rights. So why would you encourage John Q. Public, because you can't say who's coming down there, up in our face? Now, my people might not understand it, but I cannot take my livestock to Detroit. Why can people from Detroit come here, not necessarily Detroit, Sterling Heights, okay, and change everything that's right about a place that you're living? That has to change. That's just the mentality. And anybody, you're all nice people, but people are getting paid to do this to us. I don't think it's right. You got to have some morals in this. And maybe there should be morals put into a clause in the Township of Washington that says, no, we're not going to do that. Stand up, have a backbone.
No, thank you. Thanks.
And I don't forget things, and you're not getting reelected if we don't get helped out. It's not about, I could be here a long time. And I really don't care about people on bicycles. I've ridden my horse down that road. I used to come 8 years to the Peach Festival Parade on a horse from my house. And I don't want to hear about safety. People have a driver's license. They should have good enough judgment to have that license. I'm not saying, well, I didn't find too many other people out there with me, but I had a very good horse. Never got hurt doing that. I could care less about the people on the bicycles. You've got that whole trail all the way to Richmond. And what happened after that got approved? It was a old railroad track line, and they went through and paved that. That's not good for horses to go on. It's supposed to be for everybody. Well, guess what? Is it? That's got to stop. And I don't want to hear about country-like atmosphere. That's just a bunch of garbage words. You know, we don't even fertilize our lawn. We're in the Wayback Machine, but it's okay. I don't know why everybody is so pushy about, oh, it's got to look nice. You got to have exterior lights on your home for security, and that's nonsense. So I hope something good comes of this, because we fought like heck to get that road made natural beauty. And just because I'm here and I'm not coming back right away, you have to be in charge of protecting that road, because when they wanted to cap that, they raised that about a foot or more, okay? Old oak trees. Everybody's complaining about a little crook in the road, or, you know what? They got a driver's license. They have to protect themselves. I'm not in charge of protecting people. Well, in 2018, they came down the road and trimmed those oak trees in August. And a lot of people don't know it, but if you trim oak trees in the hot weather, they get oak wilt disease. So what's that going to do? That's going to kill all those trees at some point, maybe. We have to be protectors of what we do have, or we're not going to have anything. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlie Steffens. I live at 66800 Campground Road. I've lived there for 38 years, along with a few of my neighbors. I saw Ann back there earlier and a few others. They're all 2.5 acre lots between, I think 30 and 31, I'm not sure. And it was all zoned that way and whatever, so it's certainly not urbanized. I'm pretty sure the location of the road is. If I talk closer, does that do it? All right. Again, my name is Charlie Steffens, lived at 66800 Campground. Thank you. Again, I'm pretty sure all the lots are platted. I know between 30 and 31, they're all 2.5 acre lots. There might be a few exceptions of properties here and there. Some of them are a lot larger. So it's certainly not, I think, in your urbanized definition. I'm pretty sure the road is actually not in the right place. I think Campground Road is anywhere from 12 feet to 2 feet to 0 east of where it's supposed to be. That's what I've been told over the years. So if you're going to put in sidewalks, you're going to move the road over and then put the sidewalks there or whatever. I got a 100-year-old, probably, oak tree in my front yard. Certainly wouldn't want to have that attacked. And this lady here says she doesn't like bikes. I ride my bicycle out there all the time. I'm just kidding you. I ride my bicycle 2 to 3 days a week, 10 to 12 miles. I go out Mount Vernon, I go all over. I'm the guy out there picking up pop cans. So it's an urban way and whatever. And if you put in sidewalks, you're not supposed to ride your bicycle on a sidewalk. So putting sidewalks in as a place for bicycles to ride is, I think, not the right thing. I think technically to be legal, you're supposed to be on the road. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thanks. And if we can just pull together a thing on a natural beauty road and get this all taken care of, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
My name's John Roland, 65725 Campground. And that was my wife speaking earlier. Anyways, there's a little history to what went on Campground and the Natural Beauty Road. I think Roger here probably be a little bit better explaining the process that we all went through 10-some years ago. He was probably one of the leaders of that. But for myself, hearing that the road is not straight, that it'll probably be straightened out and would change the boundaries, I know that at least a 150-year-old oak tree on the end of my driveway would go. I planted 30 pine tree seedlings back in '94. They're about 40 feet tall now, and they serve as a weather break to the road, nose and dust. So that would be wiped out. And the sidewalk would be very close to my septic field. So the whole idea is just, and with the sidewalk, it'd be a sidewalk to nowhere, literally. So that's all I have to say, and hopefully Roger will get up here and say a few words after.
Thank you, Chair.
Hi, my name's Andrew, 66773 Campground Road. So I'm going to fall in the category of stakeholders that's new to the area, not new to Washington Township, but new to Campground Road. I purchased a lot about a year ago, so I think I'm probably going to, and I'm asking for some clarification because there seems to be a little bit of confusion. I purchased a lot about a year ago. I'm in the process of building. I'm hoping to get occupancy in this wonderful era of pandemic construction within the next couple months. But when my building plans got approved, lo and behold, there was a notation there around about a sidewalk. I have since applied for variance. I have not heard anything formal in writing, but I have had conversation, and apparently that I'm still not clear whether I'm going to be asked to have a sidewalk there that basically goes to nowhere, or am I not going to have a sidewalk there in the next couple months when I get occupancy. So one point of clarification. The second point is I do fall in that category where I bought that lot for its beauty, the way it looks. And the football size septic field I had to put in is going to basically leave about 10 feet of trees, which will all be gone. So if I wanted a clear-cut lot, I would have bought in a subdivision somewhere, and this totally defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. So now what I'm hearing is I am liable for that stretch of sidewalk that goes to nowhere in addition to taking those trees down. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, so this was several months back. We had the same situation happen on Campground.
Yeah,
Another
there's like
resident.
3-4 houses.
Yeah, he's probably by you.
Yeah.
The same thing happened. He came in for a variance. What we did is, as a board, I asked the board if we could extend this back out to March 31st, give us time to evaluate the area. If we can put an ordinance in to remove the natural beauty road of Campground. But in order to do that, it goes back to the planning commission, correct?
Yeah, to go to planning.
Yeah, so it has to go to the planning commission first, then it'll come back to the board. We'll formally adopt that ordinance, and then The reason I threw March 31st, just to give us a few months to work on it, because it takes a couple months to go through the two boards. So that's why you're kind of in limbo right now. We're waiting to formalize this ordinance on the Natural Beauty Road.
So will I get occupancy, or do I wait on your decision, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, we could still give them a temporary CFO.
Yeah,
That's
and
not a
we're
problem.
getting into colder months too, so it would end up being,
Yeah.
you know, a temporary, based on, you know, whatever the determination is for
Yeah,
the
just
sidewalk.
come in and we'll have the building official give you a temporary
Right.
CFO. That's not a problem.
So if indeed I would have to put a sidewalk in, what happens to my neighbors? There's no sidewalks there. There's no requirement for a sidewalk because they're not
Exactly.
building. So now we have a sidewalk.
Well, that's why I wanted this meeting to hear from you guys, the public. Obviously, you guys are all on the same page. You'd
Right.
like to have that
So
removed.
you know, I strongly oppose the sidewalk because I think it's the stupidest idea you've ever
No,
heard of. So I just, you know, just want to go on record and say,
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh.
Roger Sack, 66243 Campground Road. Full disclosure, I'm the person that organized getting the 3-mile section from 29 Mile through 32, so your map is not correctly showing that. It's the full 3 miles that's designated as a Natural Beauty Road. I shared with Supervisor Praviti before the meeting that all of this is a matter of public record in 2004, both at this government office and the Macomb County Road Commission. With the exception of one single vote, and that was the supervisor at the time of this township, it passed unanimously by the Board of Trustees. It was adopted and approved by Ed Tatum, the then Chief Highway Engineer. We took our presentation then to the Macomb County Board of Commissioners, where it was also unanimously approved. Fran Gillette was then the president, executive officer. That was prior to Mark Haskell taking the executive office. I'm an engineer, professional engineer. Been around for about 50 years, been retired for 20, but I still continue to engineer as a volunteer, believe it or not. I break this up into 3 different areas of concern. The first one, of course, is technical, because I'm a technical guy. Technically, I would like to see a feasibility study that shows the pathways of these sidewalks as they go through the various areas of the township, not just on Campground Road, where our selfish interest is, but everywhere. Because you'll find other areas with historical development that are nearly completely developed, and we can talk about vacant lots and potential lot splitting and so forth, that also are developed similar to ours, where if you put an 8-foot sidewalk in, and of course common sense would say you have to have 2 more feet on either side clear cut so that somebody isn't tooling along on a mountain bike and hooks their handlebar on a tree and cartwheels, and now you have a liability lawsuit on your hands. So we're talking 12 feet. Do we have a drawing somewhere that shows that, what that would look like? Because when you consider properties like some of the other speakers have, they have minimum offset. I'm 300 feet back to the front line of my house, but I have a grandfathered in fence line in front of my house. So all of that development was done under the surveillance of the township, according to the zoning and ordinances in effect at the time, and it was fully approved. And now we are saying that we have a destination and we're gonna reverse engineer our way back and change that? Well, that's not only a technical issue, that's an integrity issue to me. So first of all, it would all start with, do we have a layout that shows what we're talking about doing? And that's for the entire township. Some areas are going to be easy, the big greenfield sites we call them, the 260-acre bean fields that somebody's now going to subdivide. That's easy. The developer's going to build into his master plan, his individual master plan, what his development is going to look like with sidewalks and all the sales features that his customers, soon to be homeowners, will want. Well, if they want sidewalks, that's their business, and I'll tell you, it's none of mine. But professionally, if they ask for my opinion, that's how I would so advise. But when I look at other areas of our township, and even neighboring townships, Mound Road was mentioned, if you look at the stretch of Campground Road from 28 to the Fork towards the village, we're going to put a 12-foot wide sidewalk in those houses that are only 100 feet back from the road. One is on the corner, they'll lose their driveway. Now, on my property, half my property frontage is wetland. And you probably find, my estimate, 50% of the frontages on the west side of Campground between 30 and 31 are wetlands. They may not be designated as such formally as a wetland, but some are listed as drainage and water flow to the drain. So now we're gonna put in an 8-foot wide asphalt sidewalk that's a tremendous heat sink. Everybody's panicking about global warming, but now we're gonna put a ground heater in. This black asphalt that's gonna suck heat. And by the way, so does concrete, even though it reflects some. We're gonna be cutting out trees to put that in, so we're losing CO2 carrying capacity, earth cooling capacity, shade capacity for the habitat, and we're putting in, again, technically, asphalt and concrete. Then to traverse my wetland, you're gonna put a boardwalk in now. Once you put that in, the sun will never shine on that water again. You know, and if people want to come out and see wildlife, well, you just got done killing a habitat. So what is it that you're selling here? You know, if you look at how everybody has developed their properties on campground, it's for seclusion. Even the new houses where I believe that gentleman is talking about right there, they've maintained a tree line, they've maintained privacy, people are planting additional vegetation for that privacy. So now if you put a 8-foot asphalt through somebody's front lawn, now when I back out of my garage or go down my driveway, I gotta wait for the ATV flying by, which a commenter at the August 12th said they witnessed standing at the custard stand there down by 27 Mile Road, ripping down the Corn Orchard Trail, and I've seen that all too often. Or the 40-mile-an-hour mountain biker ripping through there, hooks his handlebar on your front lawn. So now I've got to shovel it, I have to insure it, and now it's a safety issue to me because I have people looking in my front windows. And now an attorney would call me an attractive nuisance if my garage was open and somebody's looking at what they might help themselves to in my driveway. I don't have to worry about that right now. Nobody does. That's why we came out there for privacy and seclusion. The house on the east side of Campground Road and one down recently sold. One of the main sales features was that it's on a natural beauty road. We heard Mr. Michael Cox, a resident where this was all brought to head, was told to put his sidewalk into nowhere, said he moved out here because it was a natural beauty road. So those are the technical issues, and that also then brings into the environmental. When we did the natural beauty road, I submitted an inventory of all the trees that the Macomb County Board of the Highway Department, wanted to cut down. There were 908. Do we have such a study that shows how many trees would be cut down to put a 12-foot wide swath in that 3-mile stretch of road alone? I'm asking the engineer. Do you have one that I could review?
No, and
Okay, so that's
Well,
yes, no answer.
wait, I'm sorry, to defend him, I told him to leave campground out of the study because.
Okay, well, here, but now, what about the other roads, Natural Beauty Road notwithstanding? There's parts of Mound Road, there's the south part of Campground that's not Natural Beauty Road. There are other areas of the township that are so developed. So last, if you don't have an environmental impact study and you don't have a technical feasibility study, and now you're reverse engineering to come and change something on our property that already satisfied all the requirements, and you're going to reverse engineer your way in to do something to me, that's an integrity issue. That's an integrity issue. Thank you. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Yeah, I'm not.
Don't laugh. It's not
No, I'm not laughing. Okay.
It's not funny.
I'm not, you guys, I sent out the letter. We purposely left out campground. I'm on your side to remove this from the ordinance. That's why I'm glad you guys came here to speak your mind. That's why we didn't put it in the GAP program, the sidewalk. But I'm saying, like, you're attacking me that I'm telling you to put a sidewalk. I never said that.
When you laugh, just think about how people out here, how they're viewing that. Now, it's easy to complain, it's easy to criticize. We're criticizing.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for this. And by the way, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for what you said. You're mostly balanced in this. You're receptive to listen, but I would have to say your analysis is incomplete. There's still much more you need to look at. There's still much more you need to consider. And again, my business is Campground Road. That's where I live. It's none of my business where other people live, but I will tell you technically there are other areas that are not designated natural beauty roads where they are as affected as we are. So in behalf of those people, they might want to speak similarly.
Yeah, that's why I did this forum, to hear from you, the public. In fact, I invited each one of you from Campground personally to come here tonight. So I'm not hiding, or I'm bringing this to a head so you guys can speak and share your concerns. I'm on your side. I'm not, the engineers know, we've told them we're going to try to do this ordinance, but we'd also like to hear from you as well, to hear the feedback. Is there any other comments? Campground or non-campground?
Real quick, John Rowland, 65725 Campground. I'd like to thank one of my neighbors, I believe it was a lady that came by, sold us the signs that were out in front of the house. Tell the township, no sidewalks. You're familiar with the signs in front of everybody's house, right?
I'm very familiar, and I was never, the township wasn't coming in to make you put in sidewalks.
Well, I just wanted to thank
Yeah.
the woman that went around and collected the money,
Yeah.
took the time to make the signs. I don't know if she's here tonight or not. Embarrassed. Good, nice shot.
Hi, Cindy Knight. I'm from the PC Planning Commission. This was started, if I'm not mistaken, like 2010. And sitting on the PC, I don't remember there being anything where we were doing sidewalks on campgrounds. So why are we sending letters to them? I'm just really curious, because there's a ton of other roads. But if we started it in 2010, why is it all of a sudden a big deal?
It was back in 2004. I don't know where 2004
Well, 2004,
was the Natural Beauty Road.
no. I'm talking about the sidewalks.
Yeah, the ordinance has been in place.
Yeah, I think that ordinance has
Yeah.
been around well before 2000.
Yeah, I thought it was a long time ago.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Probably
so
since
all
the
of
early
us-
90s
All
or
of a
80s.
sudden, we're making a big,
Well-
I'm just really curious, because
Well, in the past practice, if someone did buy on a main road, let's say the sidewalk costs $5,000, they would come to the board, get a variance, they would give the $5,000, the $5,000 would be used on 29 Mile or West Road or somewhere else, and they bypassed the campground
I
part.
understand that, but why are we sending letters to everyone on campground when there's a ton of other roads that?
Because they started putting signs up saying that we're forcing them to put sidewalks, so I wanted to hear from them and have them come here.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious where.
I've also put it on the internet, I put it on our webpage, we've put it in newsletters, we've shared this meeting.
I'm just curious where it came from, where we were putting sidewalks on them. I understand that when there's a parcel being built, that we're going to do that. We're
Yeah.
going to do the sidewalk
Right
to
now-
nowhere, but there's tons of sidewalks to nowhere.
Exactly.
Commercial.
Right now, the way the ordinance is, it's broad, so wherever you build on a main road, you need to put the sidewalk in.
Right.
So the reason we called this meeting tonight is, it's not a one rule fits all. Our township is very unique, it's got very different amenities, so the people on campground, if they don't want it because of Natural Beauty Road, we could change the ordinance just for specific natural beauty roads, and they would be removed from that ordinance. So anybody that would build there in the future, make changes to their property, wouldn't have to put a sidewalk in. So, I mean, I think that's the simple fix for this, for at least campground. But I mean, we also have other parts in the township, like Mount Vernon, that won't be developed. Maybe they should be excluded as well. We have some spots, some spots that are wetland that a person's building a $300,000 home, they have to put a $150,000 bridge. I find that ridiculous, and
I totally agree.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
just
sitting on
saying,
the Planning Commission,
Yeah.
you have to understand, we have ABC to follow.
yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in, is it's been around. I mean,
Yeah.
we're bringing it back to the previous administration, previous, because I've been here a long time, and I've seen it there. I'm just curious why it all of a sudden, and I don't know why the signs all of a sudden went up. That's what
Well,
I'm trying to figure out.
Again, in the past, we had this variance that we would either take the money and use it somewhere else, or we would give them a 5-year variance that if someone would build on either side, then they would have to put the sidewalk in. Over the last few years, it's hard to maintain records on that, so the board took a firm stance on it that enough's enough. That's why we're in the, we have gaps all over. If you have to put a sidewalk, you put the sidewalk in, but now it opened up this back up again, I guess you should say, so. Again, these certain lots on campground, this ordinance isn't a
So we'll have.
one ordinance fits
other
all
roads
kind of.
coming here too.
I'm sorry.
That's what we're going to have other roads coming here too, saying the same thing. It just makes it.
No, and that's what's so unique about it, because I have people on West Road, 28 mile, 29 mile, they're calling me complaining why isn't there sidewalks, so.
Yeah,
As much as I'm hearing against campground, I hear pro for certain mile roads.
exactly.
So I mean, like I said, we're a very unique township. We got the rural part, and I get it. I mean, we're all attracted here for different reasons, and obviously the ruralness is the big part.
Yeah.
So,
No, I get the.
and like I said, I'm all for it, like I said, but in order to do it, we need to make this ordinance and get it hopefully passed by March 31st.
Because there's nothing we can do unless the ordinance is amended.
Yeah.
And that's where, other than appealing to the township board for a variance, or asking for a deferral, that's why we're trying to, eliminate that unnecessary step for the residents in areas that, the residents
So
feel
no
are
other
not
roads,
practical.
no other roads besides campground.
Not that I heard of, and then I don't know if it's the same lady who sold the signs, but they actually had a petition, they all signed it, wanting to be removed from the sidewalk gap program or master plan, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, I respect, their property rights. They went to the trouble of filling out this petition. They're here to be heard. I think they should be heard, so if
I'm.
You guys like that, yeah.
From our department, I just want to know the other roads.
Well, I mean, obviously, I've been hearing from the Mount Vernon side as well. Those are the two big sections, so. Kind of how we have it here is.
I don't really have too much to say, but I know my neighbor said how we feel about campground. And we love this street. And we came out here for the country. Everybody has, even the new people. I'm one of the old people. Anyways, my little complaint, and I'd like to see changed back, our road, before we got all this heavy-duty limestone that still gets big holes, is to close off that road to these big, huge trucks. I saw one truck go by, I don't know what it was so big.
Yeah.
And it's constantly, this is not a country road. That's all I can say. That's if anything can be changed back, I would love it.
Yeah, that's been eye-opening, the limestone issue. Not only is it, I guess, creating a lot more dust, but it's actually raising the road, and your mailboxes are sinking, I guess, because of it. So that's one of the things I'd like the board to consider. Maybe next year we may skip a year of doing the limestone to maybe help reduce the,
But it's,
I didn't realize, yeah,
it's still a country road and it's still a mess.
yeah.
But I don't mind the messes. I do all these huge trucks always constantly going. They're going all through the night. Anytime I look out, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, there's all this traffic.
Oh, wow.
5:30 and 40, coming down 28 Mile Road for the last 5 years.
Wait a minute, okay.
Yeah, You know, the,
Well, I guess that's all I have to say.
No, thank you.
yeah, just a quick response to that, just so everyone understands. The township has no authority over roads like a city might, but townships under the Enabling Act really have very limited rights when it comes to roadways, maintenance, who can use them, when they can use them. There used to be restrictions for heavier trucks onto Class A roads. Those were removed. The best I could tell you is with those types of concerns, we can voice our concerns as a township, the staff and the board, but you need to be heard by the county Department of Roads in that regard so that they have an understanding that this is occurring and it is disrupting your safety, lifestyle, et cetera.
You mentioned that it sounds like the simplest thing for us to have happen on Campground Road. We've got a natural beauty road already, and we can get some sort of ordinance exemption.
Yep.
Okay, so what do we as residents need to do to jumpstart that?
Okay, so I guess my question would be to both of you, like, can we put this on the January PC or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of just following statute. If the township wants to proceed with it, they'll direct the staff to put together the language. We'll put the language together. It'll go to the planning commission. Planning commission will have a public hearing, and they'll then forward it with a recommendation for approval or denial to the township board. The township board will have the final decision on that regardless of what the planning commission recommends.
So December 15th is our next township board meeting. I'll ask the board to allow to go to the PC for the January 13th meeting? Second Thursday? No, the PC meeting, the 13th.
Second Thursday. The 13th.
So the process will be, I'll ask the board at the December 15th meeting.
Okay.
It'll then get voted on. If it passes, it'll go to the PC meeting on January 13th.
Okay.
And then, will that notices be sent out too, or no? For three?
If we have the clear.
Or there'll be a notice?
If we have clear language as far as what roads or how the exemption is going to go, so we can hold the public hearing, we just need to make sure that we narrow that language down at the board's direction, so that when we do hold the public hearing, we're very clear as to what areas that are going to be included
I'd
with
like
the
to propose,
exemption.
I guess, Natural Beauty Road, and make it simple.
Yeah, you could. I think it probably warrants a little bit of discussion whether other roads need to be
Yeah.
included as
Yeah.
well.
Of course, we on campground don't care about this.
Because there's DeQuinder.
Well, that's where I was going at in the beginning. I daily, I get phone calls on other roads that they want sidewalk, and they're, why aren't you putting them in? So I get them both ways, it's not.
And we have DeQuinder, we have Snell, we
Yeah,
have,
like I said, the
other
Mount
areas.
Vernon area, you have, like Dana's mentioned, you got the Quinder,
I ride my
Snow.
bike out there
Inwood.
too, I agree, don't put sidewalks out there. Anyway, so
Again, if you guys fill out these
can you somehow
postcards.
publish something for us Campground Road residents, put it on your website or something?
Yeah, no,
Tells
definitely.
us this is what our process is gonna be, and then we know that on January 39th, that we need to come to a meeting to, speak our piece or whatever, yeah.
And then at the PC side, is it a couple meetings or be one meeting? Let me just give the process.
The typical process would be it would go to the commission to set a public hearing. They would then set the public hearing date. There's no state requirement for that, so we have foregone that on numerous occasions where we just bring it to the commission as a public hearing, allow them to make a decision or a recommendation to the board. In many cases, if there's a lot of interest, they may decide to follow their standard protocol of postponing action the first meeting, taking everything into consideration, and then moving it forward at the following meeting.
So it could be a
Can you
January.
write all that down for us in a little timeline?
Just to give you, I will.
Otherwise, we can't track it.
No, for sure, but just to give you a timeline, so December, we'll present it at the board. January and February, most likely will be discussed at PC, and then at March, it'll be brought back to the board. So it'll be a 4-month process, basically.
Yeah, and the reason for that, the publication deadlines, and which
No,
it
I
has to go to
understand,
the
yeah,
paper.
I'm just trying to give you an
I'm an
overview.
engineer too. I run huge frickin' projects, so I understand.
Yeah.
But, it would be nice for us to have something on a piece of paper that says we're gonna get from point A to point J.
Right, and once the board establish,
Right.
whatever transpires at the December meeting and what they authorize, as far as the public hearing goes.
Right.
That's where that direction, and you'll get at least that timetable at that point.
Okay, because,
Would be at the
otherwise,
December meeting.
it's not like you can read the Romeo Observer to find out when a meeting is.
No,
or whatever.
but for sure, check the website, we'll have all the dates on there.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and all the agendas and everything are under the Planning and Zoning Department. If you go to there, you'll see the public hearing notices, the agendas, and they meet once a month. So the second Thursday of each month is when and all the meeting dates are on there as well.
Yeah, there's a million places on the internet to go look for stuff. That's the problem. Some sort of notification would be nice.
Yeah, no, I will.
Okay.
Mike McMillan, 67177 Campground. I would just like, in regard to what everyone has said, and I mean, I live on campground, so I share everybody's interests here. But it seems silly to just zero in on campground because DeQuinder, Snell, Mount Vernon, you're just going to have meetings, what, for the next 5 years when those residents get up in arms when it gets, I mean, I don't think there's anyone in this room who lives in an agricultural, rural area who wants sidewalks. I mean, it's like, I don't know where this originated from 20 years ago, and hopefully that's why the ordinance will be changed, but it's like, why do this piecemeal? It's expensive, you know, I don't know if the planning commission goes out and spends $20,000, $50,000 to do studies for Snell Road, or, which is insane. Anyone who drives down those roads or bikes down those roads, you're not gonna put sidewalks there. No one wants them. And that, you know, it's like, the big question I have as I've listened to all this, where did this idea come from? And apparently it's a 20, 30-year-old idea that's certainly against everyone's interest here. So why just work on campground? Can't we just do the rural agricultural area and lay a lot of this to rest? That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. What is? It's not agricultural.
It's piecemeal. There's single family, there's ag.
Yeah.
It's depends on, the area you're in.
Diane Zmoyski, 67305 Campground. Just want to make sure that you know that I do not want sidewalks. And I want my privacy, and I'm not going to shovel that snow if you put them in. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to kind of go back what Dr. McMillan said, campgrounds kind of falls under a few different zoning. That's why it's kind of might be tricky. That's why I was trying to go towards more the natural beauty road route, but unless we have to specify certain rules.
No, we just have to clearly identify if there's going to be exclusion areas. As long as we define them, we'll be fine.
Again, like, obviously campground will be the #1 answer tonight on these cards, but even for those of you watching at home, please feel free to email us at the township. Any roads that you do not want to see sidewalk or you do want to see sidewalk. And for those of you here too, if you could fill out other choices that you may have, we'll put a list together.
What do we do with these?
Yeah, if you could turn them in, or leave them on the seat, we'll
Yeah,
collect
just
them
leave them
later.
on.
It's up to you either way.
Phyllis Zimmerman, 8541 Stanford North. I happen to live in an apartment building, so there's sidewalks all over the place. There are sidewalks out of my apartment complex toward the downtown area, but there's nothing on the other way anyway, so it doesn't matter. My opinion is that, yes, you should create an exemption to the ordinance, which takes the natural beauty road out. Also, any areas that are clearly agricultural at this point. If a subdivision goes in, yes, then they have to put sidewalks in. But I do not subscribe to the theory that we need to put sidewalks to nowhere. I think that the quote-unquote walkability theory is sort of crazy when you live in a rural area where everybody jumps in a car to drive to the local store. It's not like they're going to walk to the corner store to get milk. So I just don't subscribe to that theory. I never have from the time I've started coming to these meetings 6 years ago. I just think that, yes, it makes sense when you have a new development going in to put in sidewalks, or where there might need to be a connector to the Orchard Trail. Then put a short sidewalk in there. But to make these people who have homes already or in the process of building a home on a couple of acres trying to put a sidewalk to no place, or I remember the last meeting, there was a gentleman who had a cemetery on one side of his house. So the sidewalk would only go to the cemetery fence. And then the other way, it's vacant. So what's the point in making him put a sidewalk in there? I just don't see it, and I agree with all you folks. I lived on Campground Road south of 28 50 years ago, then left the area when there was still a cornfield where all of those condos are now. So, you know, like I said, I understand when you have development, put them in. But when it's not developed, what is the point?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I guess there's no other questions right now. So I will bring this to the board, Stan will put this on our next agenda for December 15th. And we'll keep you guys notified. All of you, please make sure you sign in. We'll send you a letter with the timeline. And we'll also post it on our website for those of you at home watching. And keep you updated on the timeline of this ordinance. If anybody has any other general questions, you can feel free to come and see these maps up here. This is different parts of the town and different things. Feel free to walk around. And we'll be here to answer any questions after. So thank you all for watching, and thank you all for attending. I appreciate all your attendance. No, thank you. No, thank you.